There's a point in Barry's play where Captain Hook puts poison in Peter's dose of medicine, and Tinkerbell saves Peter by drinking the poison herself, only to be revived by the applause from the theater audience.
Wait a second. Isn't there supposed to be a, clap your hands to bring a fairy back to life? Isn't that part of the story? Did they not? Did they skip that in this version of it?
Yeah, I don't think it had any...
Because I think that's they do that in Hook, which is another version of Peter Pan.
Dude, I've seen Hook.
Oh, I know what Hook is.
Yeah, because they do that. They do this rendition of Nirvana. Where they're I think it is Wait,
no, that's not that.
It's not. What is it
called? No, that's a different Peter Pan movie that is fucking crazy. I've only seen weird snippets from it.
Wait,
it's
what
all
movie
this rock
is it?
music and punk and stuff. Hook is the old Robin Williams
Which
Peter
one
Pan
is
as a
the one
grown-up.
I'm talking about?
I think it's just called Peter Pan, but it's made in 2013 or something.
I think it might just be called Pan.
Maybe called Pan.
That's my thought, because they were doing that for a while, huh?
Yeah, they really love calling movies one word, and it's Peter Pan. That's too much for our stupid audiences.
Yeah, we should call it Pan's Labyrinth. Wait a minute.
I have seen there's some clip of, I think it might be that scene where it's all the pirates are in this giant valley and they're all clapping and singing.
Dude, it is so fucking weird. They're just it's you got Captain Hook and he's this handsome man and he's hello, my sons.
Yes,
and
I've
then
seen that clip.
All the ships and there's mountains surrounding him and there's just tons of pirates
You
up
gotta
and
make it
down.
epic. Every story's gotta be the most epic thing ever.
They're all clapping, dude. They're singing the Nirvana song. It's insane. I was whoa. And I fell asleep during that movie. I won't lie to you, Sam.
Well, Hook was about Robin Williams being Peter Pan grown up and revisiting the Neverland with the Lost Boys. And it's very, sentimental for people.
It's my apologies there.
That's fine.
I took it somewhere else.
That's fine. We can start with that. Just describing a different Peter Pan movie.
We're watching animations and it's hard to abstain from giving our opinions, though we're not classically trained. But we're gonna do it anyway, so just prepare your brain. Buckle up, cause it's the smear campaign.
Welcome to Smear Campaign!
Blurring
the lines between reality and animation. I'm Sam.
I'm Esperanza.
And this week we watched Peter Pan from 1953.
Good God.
Oh man, this was not the movie I remembered.
Yeah, I feel all the reviews I've seen of it also haven't seen the movie in maybe 40 years, because it's always welcome to the magical world of Peter Pan. Or 12 magical facts you forgot about Peter Pan.
Oh, all the websites talk about it oh, this Disney classic that we can all agree is a classic by any stretch of the imagination.
Celebrating its 63rd anniversary.
Yeah.
Hey man, retire it.
Hey man, you're getting a little old. Maybe you should step back.
Anyway.
Well, we watched Peter Pan. This was, Esperanza, this was your first time watching it.
Oh my God.
I had seen it before. I don't know if I've seen it since I was a little kid, though. It's one of those, Disney classics, air quotes, of just, it's just everywhere. You just see the imagery here and there. It's sort of just, a staple of our culture, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. I mean, they made so many other things based on that movie.
Yeah, there's a whole line of, Tinkerbell movies. They made a sequel to the original one. They've made other Peter Pan movies, but they all kind of, they've all, in some way, been inspired by this one, just because it was one of the first major, adaptations for the film.
It's kind of funny, because Tinkerbell, was not even a woman or anything. Just, a little light or something.
In the original story?
Yeah. And so, people were all pissed when they were, turned her into this woman. This beautiful, voluptuous woman. And also, and then she just goes on to have her whole line, and of course she can even talk and everything.
Yeah, I think originally in this original movie, Tinkerbell's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Where she's just not having it with Peter hanging out with Wendy or anyone else, and just constantly kind of on the verge of being just this real villain. but then they softened her up to make her more a kid star character, I guess, in the other ones. Surprisingly, I haven't kept up with the Tinkerbell CG Disney Channel movies, but I'm sure there's an audience for it.
Yeah, man. So how does the movie start out?
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. So Esperanza, this whole movie, you were just flabbergasted.
This movie was weird, man.
How was it weird?
I mean, that's pretty broad. I would say It was super sexist, first of all.
Super sexist,
well,
yes.
Not to mention it was also racist. But,
super racist, yeah.
Okay, so just like the blatant sexist phrases that Captain Hook says the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
But not only him, like, everyone says really bad things about women.
Yeah.
Like, so Captain Hook has this, like, catchphrase. Not really, but he only says it once. But he's like, he says, never underestimate what you can convince a jealous woman to do or something like that.
Oh, yeah, like, a jealous woman can be convinced of anything.
Yeah. Dude, what? A jealous woman can be convinced of anything.
They really, like, it feels... I think part of what's so kind of flabbergasted and going back to it now is, like, it really is, like, leaning into the culture and, like, sort of standards of, like, entertainment of the time. And boy howdy, back in the 50s, they loved the, oh, these simple, stupid women kind of jokes.
Yeah.
As well as the, oh, these savage native peoples. I don't know. I don't even want to say all the words they used in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about how they're, like, how they do the analogy, but how does it start? Like, the movie starts with them in their house, right?
Yeah.
And then...
It's also, like, and we'll get to actually go over the movie in a second, but it's, like, it's also weird because it assumes that you know the story of Peter Pan and are already, like, down for it. It's like, it just feels like a highlight of, like, a bunch of scenes that you probably already know is Peter Pan. I don't know. It's like, it just jumps from point to point so quickly. But, as you were saying, it starts at the beginning.
It does.
It sure does. The beautiful panning shot over London. A few little wonky perspective shots you pointed out.
It really did me in for literally the first 10 seconds. I was like, whoa, dude, the perspective is insane.
Some of the bridges and buildings are a little, like, they're not all following the same grid necessarily.
Like lopsided.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Worse things have been done in the name of art.
It looks nice. If you're not looking for inconsistencies, it's, you know.
I mean, yeah, if I was a kid seeing this in the movie theater in the 1950s, I would have been like, oh boy, World War II just ended.
Wow. What a life I've got ahead of me.
Oh, man. But anyway. So we're at the beginning. We got these three kids. We've got Wendy and John and another white boy.
Another white boy. Michael.
And Michael.
Wendy, John, and Michael.
Ah, the three classic names.
Yeah, the three amigos.
So they're all hanging out. They got a nursemaid for a dog.
Yeah, the dog is dressed as a maid and is, like, cleaning up after them.
Yeah, and taking them their bedtime tonic, aka, like, literally morphine, probably. Because that's what those tonics used to be made out of.
Yeah. It's the bottle of liquid cocaine.
So weird. Just to, like, take care of their behavioral issues.
Of course, yeah.
And that's canon, Sam.
Well, they've got hysteria, you know?
Yep.
These children bouncing up and down.
So these three kids, they're jumping on the beds and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dad comes up and he's looking for his gosh darn cufflinks.
Yeah.
He can't be seen in public without them.
Of course not. It's very London aristocracy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird vibe.
The parents are, like, off to a fancy gala party, and the dad's just trying to find all of his various costume pieces, and and the children are playing with them. So he's very mad at them, and he's blaming everything on the dog and on Wendy and on this and that, and getting really mad, and hijinks ensue. There's a few gags that, as becomes a habit for this movie, a few gags that go on a little long.
A little too long.
It's a lot of, like, just really relishing and, look, this guy fell over again.
Yeah, he did. It looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great.
None of it's that funny. A couple bits of it are funny.
Yeah. I like the Little Neverland boys. I think they're silly, but you can never understand what they're saying. So yeah. It's a treat both ways.
Yeah. But it's like, they've got so much of the movie is focused on jokes and gags and physical humor, but so little of it is like, oh wow, that was actually really clever. It's just like, yeah, now he gets bonked again. And it's like, I don't know. There's definitely a skill to making it the way they did, but it's just not that, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
As someone who really enjoys old, goofy, Looney Tunesy, like, cartoon humor, this didn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, which is weird because I think that it might have even started some of that. Like, you know, the hijink of, like, you know, you're walking off the cliff and then you look down and then you fall. You're like, I fell because I can't.
For you see, gravity impacts me when I'm not upon a piece of land.
It's funny because Newton's first law, you know.
Yeah, you know. Well, I don't think this I think this feels very much like just taking a bunch of cartoon gags they'd already done, because they've been doing like theatrical shorts for like 2 decades at this, or like at least fairly, like you could say 15 years. They've been pretty on board with that stuff, and all the different studios have been making cartoons at that point.
Yeah.
And what's weird about Peter Pan is like it's not. There's a lot of old Disney movies where it's like the beauty and the serenity and the magic of it is kind of like the draw. And for Peter Pan, it feels kind of like just a bunch of goofy like cartoon shorts, just sort of
smushed in together.
Just mushed into a big movie.
Yeah, I mean, it maybe felt a little bit like they were just trying to make something out of what they had. And I mean, you know, it's 1953 POV. You're like a little kid. You know, your dad died in the war, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. You go with your mom and you have a little glimpse of your childhood in this weird racist movie.
Yeah, and I'm sure you loved it.
Life is good.
Life is good.
And that's it.
You gotta get those communists out of Hollywood, you know?
Yeah, because I was reading on about how they got the rights for this, the animation rights for this, like in 1939.
Yeah, how'd that come about?
Oh, so I guess the author of this series or book, J.M. Barrie, he gave it to this hospital called Great Ormond Street Hospital before he died.
Yeah.
He gave I don't know, he gave the story to them. I don't know exactly why that was, but apparently Walt Disney was so enthralled with the story of Peter Pan, and he actually played Peter Pan in a stage performance when he was a teen, I guess.
Disney did?
Walt Disney, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and he said, this is a funny quote, "No actor ever identified himself with the part he was playing more than I." So that's fucking weird.
So Walt Disney really sees himself in this rancid little selfish white boy.
Yeah. It's reflected so well. But anyway, so he's so enthralled, he, in 1935, started pushing for a deal with the hospital.
Yeah.
To get exclusive animation rights. And it took 4 years for him to get the rights, because they didn't want to give it up. But he finally got it, man.
He finally got it.
Yeah. And he produced it. But it got put on hold because of World War II.
Right. They had to make wartime cartoons.
Yeah, they had to do something else, so they postponed the making of the movie.
Interesting.
So that's it, man.
That's that. That's the story of Peter Pan. So
okay,
the story. So the story of Peter Pan. We just started the opening scene.
I know.
The children are all play acting as Peter Pan and Captain Hook and all the members of this story, and it's a weird kind of like the beginning of it gives off the impression of like everyone knows the story of Peter Pan, as do these children, and they're playing it out, you see. But the father has no patience for such tomfoolery. So then he starts getting mad at everyone. He blames Wendy. He says, "You've got to move out of the nursery." And she's like, "No!
I don't want to grow up, Father."
Yeah. And when we first heard Wendy's voice, we both assumed this was an older lady playing a child.
Yeah, because they wanted 30.
Yeah, because like she's one of the main characters. You wanted to have like a certain tact and skill as an actor, so you can't really trust kid actors necessarily, especially back then. Michael, the littlest boy, is definitely played by a kid, and it sounds like he's played by a kid, in that it sounds like he just got his lines out and they barely recorded it.
Yeah.
They just got him to say the lines. But turns out she was actually only 15.
Yeah.
She sounds like she's very much older than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused why you say especially back then, because I mean, kid actors were super disciplined back then.
Well, I don't know.
Like in a bad way.
Some of them were, yeah.
I'm thinking of Shirley Temple.
Yeah, there's definitely were some kid stars. But I think like now, like a big show can just have a bunch of kids playing roles. Like, what's it called? Stranger Things.
Oh, like acting has
evolved. Yeah, there's more like a standardized set of like quality control for that kind of thing. Yeah. And none of it's good. No kids should probably just not be acting at all, given how often things go bad. In
order to make things realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless we turn out with something like Riverdale, where all the actors are like 40.
Yeah, that's the other end. It's like you just get actors who look like they're all pretending to be 20 years younger than they are.
Saying things like, you dropped out of high school because you had to deal drugs to support your nana.
Whoa.
That means you've never experienced the epic highs and lows of high school football. That's an actual line. Don't look it up. No, you should look it up, because it is.
I've heard about how absolutely crazy Riverdale is. Is that from Riverdale?
That's my favorite line from Riverdale.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny.
I've heard that it's fucking nuts.
It's hilarious.
It might be worth watching someday. Maybe not for this podcast, but...
I mean...
For the purpose of my own growth as a human being, I think I should
you do what you want.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway.
So, the dad gets mad. He says, "This is your last night in the nursery." Wendy freaks out, but they all, they have to do whatever dad says. He has a lot of anger management issues. Nobody addresses that. It's never going to be fixed. He will die an angry man. But they all go to bed, and as they're going to bed, Wendy tells her mom that she has to leave the window open just in case Peter Pan comes back. And Mom's like, "What?
Oh, you.
There's a strange man coming into your room at night?" It's like, "Oh, no, it's just Peter Pan. I took his shadow and a bear character." So she's got his shadow, which was like the new, updated, like, inciting incident, as opposed to Peter Pan just coming to kidnap her.
Right.
As, like, his new mother.
I got his shadow. From where, Wendy? We have no background information.
It just, it's like, "Oh, I got it."
And then the mom's like, "Oh, all right, dear," and then walks out and like blows out the light in the room.
It's like the mom is a good parent because she indulges her children's fantasies and doesn't ask questions about the stories of a strange man coming in through their window. Okay.
And the dad's like her polar opposite.
Yeah.
Just like an angry guy, but
just a blustering buffoon.
Oh, as it should be.
Yeah, as you should expect a married couple to be.
Oh my god.
So
is a bitch.
So also there's a scene where the dad just very angrily brings the dog Nana out back and like ties her up outside, and it's so sad.
It's so sad, dude.
It's desperately sad, and like he's looking for the rope, and the dog has it in its mouth and hands it to him. It's just like, "Well, there you go. It's not your fault. It's just you're not really a Nana." She just looks so sad.
You're just a dog.
And that also goes into like, there's so much weird tonal dissonance between every other scene.
Yeah.
Just like silly fun. Oh, this is serious now. Oh, this is desperately sad. Oh, this is so fun. And like just keeps jumping back and forth. There's no like...
Yeah, but it just feels like it wasn't supposed to be as sad as it actually was.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was supposed to be funny and you're like supposed to laugh at it as a treat.
I don't know if you can make that...
I don't know,
like,
dude.
I think there's like less... I guess now we kind of expect there's more standard for movies to be like, oh, well, this has to lead into this, and this needs to, like, justify, like, this next moment. And, like, there's a lot more mechanical structure that goes into framing movies. And this movie, it's only, like, an hour, 19 minutes long. It's really just, like, we're just going to get from shot to shot. Like, it feels like they just had an idea for a scene. And I think this is confirmed. Like, they just came up with ideas for scenes without writing down everything that was going to happen and just kind of made them and then kind of put them together.
Yeah, so actually they originally filmed a live-action version.
Yeah.
With all of the actors that voice acted in the movie. So they actually filmed a whole other movie not intended for audiences.
Wow.
Just for reference's sake.
Just, okay.
So,
I mean, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
they kind of made that up.
Yeah.
And they didn't make it up, obviously. They had the stories as like a loose reference. And Walt Disney he had all his ideas and stuff. But he didn't actually like the end result that they came up with.
Yeah.
He said that Peter Pan was too, like, I don't know, too lifeless and mean, like meaner than he intended.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that's Walt Disney's discovering something about himself. He's so mean to everyone. What's the deal?
What's the deal with that? He's not a likable guy.
How's anyone supposed to love a man like this? I don't know, Walt.
Oh, no. Sad stuff, man.
I feel like it's safe to say that Walt was probably a nasty person.
I assume so.
Certainly hated workers' rights and was very... I don't think it's like... There was like a running theory, like rumor for a while that was like, oh, Walt Disney was a member of the Nazi Party. And it's like, I don't think that turned out to be true, but he was like, it would not be far off to say he may have been sympathetic to that, which,
who knows?
Walt Disney, the largest entertainment company in the world. Ugh.
This was I found a really funny quote that I wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact.
Sure.
So it says, Walt Disney broke his piggy bank to get the money for tickets to the performance starring actress Maud Adams for the original Peter Pan stage show. He remembered the performance fondly and later asked her to look at an early reel of his version of Peter Pan, and she declined. Disney said that to her, the Peter whom she created was to her real life and blood, while another's creation of this character would only be a ghost to her. He surmised that she was simply living in the past. Because she didn't want to look at his reel.
Wait, so that part she actually said, like...
He's surmising that about her. He's saying that the reason she didn't want to look at
She just didn't like it because it wasn't her interpretation.
Yeah.
She didn't want to give mine a chance.
But she was probably just like some famous person. And he's like, please can you look at my art? And she's like, no.
Can you look at my movie?
And he's like, she's living in the past. I thought that was really funny. like, what the heck?
Seems like something Peter Pan would say.
Oh man, that Walt Disney does not seem like a cool dude at all.
I'm just going to imagine now that everything Walt Disney does, he's just a grown-up Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Just harassing and abusing people around him.
I mean, he wants to be young forever, so he cryogenically freezes himself, right?
That's true. It's true, he definitely did that.
It's canon in
Disney World lore.
in The Simpsons, I don't know.
Yeah.
In
now
Futurama.
Yeah. So Peter Pan shows up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really evil shot of him. The
He
very
looks
first.
so evil, dude.
He pointed out, like, the very first shot we see of him, it's like this red lighting and his face is all twisted because he's gonna play a prank on the dog, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he jumps in the window and tries to catch his shadow, which Wendy has whimsically stored inside of a cupboard. And he chases it around the room, and
Comedy ensues.
yes, comedy. It's another gag that goes on for a while. Tinkerbell shows up. Tinkerbell is like, having her fun times. She looks at herself in a mirror and sees how thick her thighs are. And literally, she's just like, oh, my thighs are too thick.
And that's the joke, dude.
Yeah.
And it's funny because...
Yeah, and then she tries to get out of a keyhole a couple of times, and she can't because her thighs are too thick.
Oh my god.
They put a lot of emphasis on just showing you how thick
There's a lot
Tinkerbell's
of
thighs
fan
are.
service in this movie.
There's a good review I have from Carrie K, who gave the movie 5 stars, saying, I love Tinkerbell. I have a tattoo of her on my leg.
Oh.
So, people like Tinkerbell.
I've definitely run into folks that have Tinkerbell tattoos before.
Yeah. It's like it's sort of an iconic image.
Yeah.
And she's a fun character. She's my favorite character in the movie, in part because and it sounds wrong, it's because she doesn't say anything. Like, she doesn't have any of the same weird, like, hang-ups and annoying performances and all this other stuff that's, like, just indicated at the time. Like, the fact that it's just, like, this really mean character who's just kind of doing her own thing and not playing along with anyone else. I don't know. It's fun.
I feel like that everyone else can understand her language.
Yeah, whenever she does her little, like, chime sounds.
Except for, like, the earthly... The Earth kids don't understand her language. What is she saying?
The members of Neverlandia understand her perfectly.
Yeah, but Captain Hook understands her fine.
Yeah.
So
the lore of this movie is.
There's a lot of lore, it seems.
I don't think there is. I don't think they thought about it at all.
Yeah.
I think it was very much just what makes sense for which scene, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a fun cartoon adventure.
It's funny to assume that we would know the story of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Was it really famous back then?
I guess it must have been. I mean, there were stage performances, and they gave the rights to a children's hospital. I don't know.
So weird.
It's strange.
We haven't even talked about the worst parts of this movie yet.
No, we haven't even gotten to Neverland. But Wendy and her brothers all agree to go to Neverland with Peter Pan because he's like, you can go to Neverland. Like, we love Neverland from all the stories about it. It's like, okay, sure. And they all get their fairy dust. They very forcibly take it out of Tinkerbell.
Slap it right on her thick ass. And then she makes them all fly, dude.
Yeah, she makes them fly. They fly off. They give the fairy dust to the dog, but the dog's tied up. And so the dog just is stuck kind of floating in midair, can't reach them. And it's like, that's also really sad.
Yeah, it was weird.
I think that one was supposed to be a joke.
In the original story, the dog goes with them.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why they did that.
Maybe they just didn't want to bother animating a dog for the whole movie.
Yeah, they had some plans for her for, like, chasing around Tinkerbell, and it would be a whole thing, like another gag, but I guess they were like, we don't want to animate this sad dog.
I'm so sad animating this dog.
It's so sad.
Get rid of it.
It makes me sad. Dude.
Toss it to the side.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Yeah, and the scene is so sad. The dog's like, I just want to go to Neverland with you, bro.
It's like waving her paw, like, bye.
Yeah, and the little baby's like, come on, Nana.
You can do it.
Come with us. And she's like, oh, I can't.
Stupid kid.
But she doesn't talk. I mean, she's a sad dog.
Yeah, just a sad dog.
It's really sad.
Sad eyebrows. But, yeah. So they get to Neverland, and they have an encounter with the Captain Hook. And we see a whole scene of all the pirates just sort of stumbling around.
Singing in perfect harmony.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs. Not a lot of them are that catchy.
None of them are catchy, actually.
But there's a lot of, like, just harmony and chorus singing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, pirates, yes we
are. We're pirates and we are we're that.
That is what we are doing now.
Yeah. You could summarize my identity as pirate number 6. But all the pirates are singing, and old Shmee, Captain Hook's dopey little sidekick, pops up, and she's like, you all need to do nothing. He's got the most annoying voice. I think that's another like famous Disney voice. Like or I know that actor does other voices in Disney stuff, but I think that's like similar to another character. Maybe it's something from Alice in Wonderland. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would assume so. They kind of just reused voice actors.
Yeah, I mean, they got a relationship with the actors. They want to use it, use them for all their worth, and toss them to the side.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
The dad and Captain Hook are voiced by the same person.
That makes sense. I got that impression during the beginning of the movie where I was like, this guy kind of looks like Captain Hook.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's blustering and freaking out and that he's like a villain kind of for the opening scene, it kind of makes sense.
But I found out why. It's because in the stage performance, that's the tradition.
Oh yeah, that makes
Captain
sense.
Hook and the dad are played by the same person, but like with different fits on.
That's some language of theater right there.
But that's not only the dual character. It's not the only dual character.
Yeah.
The other one is the dog and the crocodile. So whoever plays the dog also plays the crocodile.
That's interesting.
The animators kind of like recognize that with like the weird like snapping and like dog-like motions that the crocodile does.
Yeah, the crocodile definitely does act kind of like a dog.
Yeah.
I didn't really see that connection though, in the Disney movie at least.
I just saw that was like they did it on purpose.
That makes sense.
It's a treat for us.
Yeah.
So because we get it, we've seen the stage production, of course.
Of course, we all have. We see it all the time. I go every other week. I go down there.
I go down there to the theater.
To the Peter Pan National Theater,
where they perform it every day.
Yeah, but
it's good stuff.
Yeah, I guess that feels like the fact that he's so frustrated with the dog and keeps like interrupting the dog. Like, yeah, I can see the connection there, but they didn't really make much of a point of it.
The duality of man.
The duality of dog.
So where were they? Where were we? They fly to Neverland, right?
They fly to Neverland. Captain Hook and his folks all show up, and they're like, "Oh, I hate Peter Pan." And
we're going to shoot you down with cannonballs.
Yeah, they try to shoot him out of the clouds. Peter Pan distracts them, and Tinkerbell leads them down to the island, but then flies ahead so that they can't keep up.
Because she's so jealous.
She's so mad.
And you can convince a jealous woman of anything.
You sure can. And a jealous woman can also convince anyone else of anything.
And that's just it's the law in Neverland.
Yeah. Because she convinces all the Lost Boys to go fire all their arrows and things at Wendy, because it's like, it's a Wendy bird, and it's like, it's just a person. You can see her. She's just flying there.
It's a person.
But they shoot her out of the sky anyway, and she almost dies. But Peter Pan catches her, and he's like, "Oh, Tinkerbell, you almost killed her." And Tinkerbell's just like, "Fuck off. I don't give a shit."
Yeah, she's like, "Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I'm mad.
And
you haven't even asked me why I'm mad." It's like a weird relationship. Like, Peter Pan has a relationship with every woman in the movie.
Yeah, it's the toxic relationship.
Yeah.
For me.
It feels weird. Like, everyone's just like, "Oh, Peter Pan," and he's just like, "Hey, whatever, fuck off. I'm Peter Pan. I'm gonna go do something else now."
Every single woman in the whole, even the Tiger Lily character.
Yeah, Tiger Lily, who is the one Native American character who's not an explicitly terrible stereotype.
Just like a horrible, I don't know, some horrible depiction.
Yeah.
She's like the only one who's drawn like a...
She's drawn like all the other characters.
Yeah.
It's that same like kind of weird Disney style of like very cherub-faced characters. And she's drawn in the same way. Yeah. But all the other Native American characters, or as they very casually call them, Injuns, Redskins, like every word you're not, expected to use at this point, they were just having a ball with that. But that leads into the next scene where...
Yeah, how do they even get involved in the storyline?
I think it's kind of hard to understand some of the kids when they're talking, but I think what they say...
Yeah, it is hard to understand them.
I think what they say is like, they're going to go hunting, and then they decide to go hunt some Injuns. That's the inciting incident.
Oh, just as a treat? So why does Captain Hook kidnap Tiger Lily, the character?
That comes later, I think. No, wait, it is. He goes to kidnap Tiger Lily because he knows that if he can convince the Native Americans to help him, they know the land better than anyone. They'll listen to his demands. And meanwhile, the Lost Boys are like, "Let's go hunt some Injuns," and they go running off and they sing a nasty song about it. And then,
but it just turns out that's just a game they play.
Yeah,
like the Native Americans and the little Lost Boys, they play the game where they hunt each other down and they tie each other up, and then they just let each other go.
That's another thing about the movie kind of expects you to already be on board with Peter Pan.
Yeah,
where
you just don't know.
Yeah, where it's like everything, because it's all like a metaphor for childhood or like youth or innocence or whatever, even though most of the characters are really nasty and mean to each other. But it's like everything's kind of a game, and like all the different factions of people are just like playing their part and like living their life, and then when they interact, they're like, oh, we're gonna fight, and then whoever wins gets to win, and that's kind of the end of it.
Yeah, but then the chief goes, oh, we're not going to let you go this time because you kidnapped my daughter.
The chief has got a very low voice and a very nasty, like, racist depiction of, you know, it's all, like, I feel like everyone's already said this before, but...
It's
like,
what you'd expect.
Yeah, it's just, like...
movie made in 1953.
It's really intensely, like, nasty and hateful. And I feel like I've said nasty 6 times already, but...
Nasty!
Nasty! These nasty boys! And they get to the... they get captured. There's like a line before they get captured where John's like, now they're of lower intelligence, so we'll surround them and take them by surprise. And then they're surrounded and taken by surprise. And it's like, oh, that's a joke. But also, why do you have to say that?
Yeah, Jesus
why do you gotta say that shit?
Just don't say that, John. Yeah, come on, man.
It's just, they thought it was fine.
Come on, John, be cool.
They thought that was like such a good joke.
Be cool, John.
John, I don't think John's ever going to be cool.
Kind of whack, dude. Yeah, because he's nasty and uptight, just like his father. Yeah. That's how he's written.
He's going to be the new Captain Hook, probably.
I could see that. But, you know, the bad guys are always racist, so John must be racist.
Yeah. But, or at least the racists are always bad guys.
Jeez. But anyway.
Anyway.
So then they get
captured, and then the Native Americans are like, oh, we're not going to let you go this time because you took our tiger lily. And they're like, we didn't do that. And all the Lost Boys have the most annoying voices.
Yeah, I can never understand a damn word.
Well, we had no... They're just mumbling to each other.
Not only that, but there's 2 boys that are like exactly identical, and one of them repeats everything the other one says, which is really annoying.
It's really hard to follow what they're saying.
Oh, man.
And it's like, I don't know, like, if we were sitting here concentrating, I'm sure we would be able to focus on what they're saying. But also, it's like...
There's so much... It's a lot of chaos. It's a lot going on in every single scene.
Every scene has so much noise.
It's a lot of emotional whiplash, dude.
Yeah. Speaking of which, next scene is Peter Pan brings Wendy to go see the mermaids. And then he flies up to the mermaids and says, like, hey, how's it going? I got a new story for you. And Wendy's like...
Peter, did you miss me?
Yeah. All the mermaids are just like, oh, Peter Pan. I can't believe it.
God.
And Peter's just like, yeah, I'm the best, right?
You're the only eligible bachelor on this entire planet.
They're like, yeah. And Walt Disney's like, yeah.
Captain Hook's like, what about me?
Nobody likes Captain Hook. He's an old man, which is a fair complaint. But anyway, Wendy's trying to like go see the mermaids too, and Peter Pan completely forgets about her. As soon as he sees a new girl, he just forgets about the person he's with.
Yeah.
Then the mermaids see her and like, oh, what's she doing here? And in her nightgown even. It's like, she's more clothed than anyone else on the island.
In her nightdress? Oh,
how dare she?
Disgusting.
Revolting.
Dude, Tinkerbell is literally like... I don't even know.
Tinkerbell's basically not wearing clothes.
We've literally seen her underwear like 7 times already.
They show that a lot. The people
what a treat.
Yeah, the people who animated her had
Jesus
a time doing it.
Oh my god.
But
yeah, so then Captain Hook comes to get Peter while all that drama's going on, and then he's like, Peter Pan decides to play a little prank on him.
Yeah, because he's captured Tiger Lily.
Right. So Captain Hook has captured Tiger Lily, the daughter of the Native American chief, and then he's gonna just maroon her on this little rock, and she has an anchor tied to her, so she will die at some point. We just don't know when. So it's kind of fucked up, I'm gonna say.
It's a little sad. She's also a child.
Yeah, she's a little girl, and he's like, why won't you tell me what I need to know? And she does not speak any word at all.
Yeah, she doesn't say anything in the whole movie.
Yeah.
I guess they couldn't give her a voice that wasn't racist.
I guess.
So they just didn't try.
I don't think they cared about all of that.
No.
Yeah, but she just holds her head up in defiance, so he's like, oh, you won't tell me anything, and so he is all mad and shit, and then Peter Pan is like, I'm gonna play a fun little prank. I'm gonna take my hat and I'm gonna talk into it, and lo and behold, the very same voice that will come out of the hat is gonna be the same voice of the voice actor that plays Captain Hook. It's uncanny.
It's a really good impression. Really effective.
And so he uses his uncanny impression of Captain Hook to convince Smee, Captain Hook's little sidekick, to take Tiger Lily back to her people. And so Smee's like, okay, finally you've had a change of heart, Captain Hook. And so he starts doing it.
What does Smee believe in?
I don't know.
What is the philosophy of Smee?
He's like, he doesn't even care about anything.
He always seems, because there's a scene later where he's completely drunk off his ass, but like Every scene he's kind of like that.
He's wonky as hell.
Where he like jumps between like, oh, we should all go back to sea, or we should do what Captain says, and it's just like, I don't know. He's a flip flopper. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, in the last scene when Peter Pan shows up, he's like, oh, look, it's Peter Pan, and he's like all happy about it.
Yeah, he's still got that whimsy in his spirit, so he still loves Peter Pan. The rule of the island is, if you're a good person, you love Peter Pan, which is a convenient rule for Peter Pan.
Yeah. And, it's almost like his actions have no consequences.
It's almost as though he's controlling everyone.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, at the end, there's like some chase with the crocodile and this and that, and comedy ensues.
Yeah.
Because Captain Hook's deathly scared of the crocodile with a ticking clock in it.
I do think that the crocodile sequences, where he's like jumping in and out of the crocodile's mouth and trying so hard to not be eaten, are some of the highlights of the movie.
They're silly, but they go on for so long.
Yeah, they go on long.
You know, it's like you could have one near miss or maybe two as a treat, but it happens like 8 to 10 times in a row every single time.
It's just very indulgent. Like the animators had all these ideas for gags, and they're like, we gotta get every last one of these in here.
Everything's gotta go in.
Every single joke.
Like not just the funniest ones, but like every joke we have in the roster is gonna go in this movie.
Yeah. But in the same way, like with Tinkerbell, where it's like when it's not focused on the story or like without the specific dialogue characterization, it's the charm of like the technical skill and ability kind of shines through a little more, because obviously the movie's like very well animated, and like it's like there's parts of it that like you can see how dated it is, but it's still a impressive like massive production. But yeah, just for a lot of it, we were having a hard time enjoying it. Just because of,
it's the emotional whiplash, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you can't get past everything's just so busy all the time, and there's no moment for rest or like reflection.
Yeah.
There's no time for you to think about like or process anything that's going on.
And even if you enjoy like one of the jokes or something, it's like they're already 3 jokes down the line as soon as you processed it.
Yeah, because it's hard to talk during this movie.
Yeah. We kept missing, like, I don't think we necessarily missed plot, but a lot of the individual moments were like, you can't look away for a second because it's so frantic and
everything's going on and everything's the matter, and he shaves the seagull's butt, dude.
He shaves the seagull's butt. I like that joke too, just because it was like really weird.
It doesn't make any darn sense.
He sets the captain up to shave him and puts a hot towel on his face, and then a seagull comes down and sits on the hot towel like it's a nest, and then he starts shaving the seagull's ass, and he just like starts patting the seagull
with powder, and then the seagull's like, oh my god, I'm naked, and then he flies away.
And then Smee thinks that he decapitated the captain. He's like, I never shaved him that close before.
You see, and that's how chaotic it is.
Yeah, it's just constant.
Like do you ever look at someone and you're like, oh my god, looks like you lost your head, don't worry, I'll find it for you. Oh look, I found it. Oh no, wait, it's still attached to your body. Please don't choke me out.
And then he chokes him out.
There's a lot going on. And then here's the crocodile. There's just, that scene is just so chaotic.
It's just very like vaudevillian, goofy comedy that just never...
It never stops, dude.
Yeah.
Never ceases. It's just great if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing. And I kind of am. It depends. I don't know that much of it is that funny in this movie, but there are like little bits and pieces that are still like, oh yeah, that was fun.
So Peter Pan and Wendy rescue Tiger Lily, and they take her back to the chieftain, and then
they have the iconic song.
Yeah, to honor Peter Pan, he makes him like an honorary chieftain.
Yeah,
now
he's the leader of 2 groups of people.
Where they smoke the peace pipe as a treat.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's weird. And then there's this weird like song they sing that I hope to never find out what the lyrics are, because I assume they're the worst.
Yeah, it's the song "What Makes the Red Man Red."
Oh, is that really what
that's the name of the song? Yeah.
Dear God in heaven.
And it's just all these like weird, like, it's a very damning depiction of white privilege, I think, in a way that it's not intended to be, but it definitely is. Of just like, you don't even see these people as people. Like, it's crazy how removed any of these depictions are from actual people. Like, these aren't people, these are cartoons. These are absolute caricatures. Like, most of them don't even have eyes, because they just have like the same caricature of like the big nose and the hair over their eyes. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but that's
they
just
use
like
that later on as for their analogy.
What's that?
So like, you know how they all come home. So they all go back to the Lost Boys hideout.
Oh yeah.
They all have like the the war paint on their face and like maybe a little feather in their hair, you know, because they were all celebrating together.
They're all appropriating the culture in a very very fun-loving way.
Yeah, and then Wendy's all like, we have to go home sometime. And John and Michael, or is it Michael?
Yes, John and Michael.
They don't want to go home because, you know, they're having such a great time doing what doing what they do best. And she's like, well, what about, you need a mother? What about a mother? And then they're like, I've never had a mother before. All the little lost boys. Yeah. She's like, a mother is someone to kiss you on the cheek, to tell you they love you. And then she starts singing her little song. A little song
about like how nice mothers are. And in the process of singing that song, all the lost boys come to light and realize, oh, we need to be able to like have families and like grow up a little bit. And in doing so, they remove all the like weird, like the dressings of the Native American folks.
Yeah, like, they like rub the war paint off their cheeks.
They throw away the feathers, and it's like, what's the one-to-one here that you're going for? Like, it's such a weird like admittance of like, oh yeah, Native American stuff, that's just a game. It's just for fun that we can like joke around and laugh at. It's like, I don't know, Cowboys and Indians is like a traditional, I guess, like standard game at the time for like kids to just run around and pretend to be this or that. But it's like, it is wild seeing a movie be so proudly
this
like,
shit is real life, man.
Yeah.
What
just,
the heck?
Just so proudly removed from reality like that. And not even like, and it's a cartoon, whatever, but still.
Yeah, I mean, you read the book, you watch the screenplay, and then you adapt it into that. Whatever the fuck that was. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, it looks nice, but it's also just like, Jesus Christ. Chill out, man. Do you mind? So yeah, when we were watching it, I was having a hard time like separating the art from just like all the terrible things that were happening. So I had my mouth open for a lot of the film. And
Tiger Lily does like a provocative dance for Peter Pan. And it's like, Jesus.
And she even like kisses him at some point, as I recall.
And it's like, it's all child fun. It's like, is it? Is it?
I don't know, man.
It's a fun review from Rich S. It's 2.5 stars. The movie is not a winner in my book. The most important 12 seconds of the movie are contained in the pre-movie acknowledgement that this movie is offensive. Personally, I don't think it's terribly offensive, but I can pretty much guarantee it would have been made differently today, and in all likelihood would have been a better movie because of it.
Yes. I mean, I have to agree. Yeah. I mean, I don't agree that it's not that offensive. I think it's, but you know.
It's pretty far on the like lens of being pretty offensive, but I guess for him not too much of a concern. But yeah, it's like, it's just so far removed from how they would make any kind of movie like that today. Yeah. And so what do you think? Does this movie hold up? No, not for me. I don't think like any aspect of it holds up. I don't think that the art supports the plot. It's weird because like it's this iconic thing, and we can kind of like get back to talking about like the finale and the plot and everything, but it's like this iconic piece of Disney identity where like everybody knows Disney, everybody knows like these classic movies that Disney's associated with. And like, I don't know, have you like, you've never seen the movie before, but you've seen like some of the imagery from the movie, I'm guessing. I read like the adaptations, like Disney had those little like children's story books about movies, and it never even mentioned the dog or like really anything specifically. Well, those are just like 12 pages long, right? Yeah, they're just like little books with the little drawings, like a very brief like sentence on each page about whatever's going on. But have you seen like any images of like Peter Pan or Tinkerbell or anything from this movie before? I mean, I had seen like Tinkerbell. Yeah. I mean, she gets around. She gets around. I just specifically like remember like at malls in Detroit they would have like these stores that had like Tinkerbell, and they had like pictures of like Tweety. Is that the name? Tweety is the gangster? Yeah, like just like you know, like those kinds of cartoon characters, and they're on blankets and they're on That's like where I would see all that imagery the most, which is so random. It's just like merchandise that just exists of it. Like everyone's kind of seen it in some way. Yeah. And like, I don't know, it's like there's parts of it that are definitely fun, but I really wish that it was a different movie than what it is. Yeah. It's very hard to watch. Watching it with you for the first time in all the moments, you're like, what is happening? What is going on? Well, I was also like, it was hard to understand when the little Never boys were talking. Yeah. Like, I couldn't understand a damn thing they were saying, and I missed like a major part of the plot. Like, I missed why Captain Hook was trying to even kidnap the daughter of the chieftain in the first place. I had no idea why. Yeah, they mix in all the kind of like meaningless back and forth gags with the actual plot points. Very kind of like, they don't like take time aside to say, and now we're going to talk about what we're going to do next. It's like, it's just mashed in there with everything else. How am I supposed to know what to listen to? Anyway. I don't want to listen to any of it. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. if I had kids, I would not want them to see this
Absolutely
movie necessarily.
not. Can you imagine?
Like, I would show
What a
them some
cringe.
other ones, but not this one.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I wasn't allowed to watch this movie as a kid. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
gonna lie. I believed that this would be a film that they would show me.
Yeah.
Like, because I watched all the movies from this time period.
Yeah.
But I wasn't allowed to watch the animated things. So, like, I didn't watch Snow White or, like, Cinderella or any of that. It was all just, like, live action, black and white musicals and that sort of thing.
I think the fact that this is, like, a comedy,
Yeah.
more so than a lot of the other Disney movies of the day, helps to really cement how outdated it is.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're trying to be funny, and how do you be funny? You kind of, like, lean on the culture of the time, and that culture is so removed from the reality of what was actually going on at that time, but also removed from anything we could recognize today.
What was that now? 70 years ago now?
Yeah.
It's a long time ago, Sam.
That's a while back.
I don't even know anyone who's 70 years old. Hashtag not my president. Just kidding. He is our president.
I don't even know that.
I voted for that.
He's definitely our president.
God damn it. I voted for him, I know.
Yeah, of course. Anyway. Getting a little sidetracked. We can go over, like, the last bits. When they get back to the...
the Neverland boys' little hideout.
Yeah, when they get back to the hideout, Smee, or someone figured out that Tinkerbell had been, like, exiled from Peter Pan's little company because she tried to kill Wendy. And so that's when Hook says his famous line, "Oh, you can convince a jealous woman to do anything." And they capture her and then have a little discourse with her. Captain Hook plays the piano very well, considering that he has a hook hand.
Yes.
And while he's doing that, he's kind of putting the seed of thought in her mind of like, oh yes, well, we should be getting out of here any time now, but oh, if only we could do something to help you and your problem with this Wendy. Perhaps we could take her with us. But if only we knew where Peter Pan lived. And Tinkerbell's like, yeah, let's get rid of the bitch. She's like, wow. And it's like, okay.
I'm a jealous woman.
I'm a jealous woman.
You can
convince me.
convince me of anything.
That's my whole thing. So Tinkerbell shows them the way. As soon as she does, they trap her in a little lamp. Yeah. And
Weird.
go off to kidnap all the other Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And they leave a present for Peter Pan. But in the present, there's a bomb!
A
bomb! Oh no! Hook tries to get everyone to join the pirates. They refuse because they think Peter Pan's going to come. And he's like, he's going to blow up! And they're like, no, he's not. And then they walk off the plank.
the prank.
They walk the prank. They get pranked pretty epic hard.
Pretty epic, dude.
But Wendy jumps off and they wait for Splash. And they're like, no splash, no splash, no splash. All the pirates are freaking out.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Peter Pan survived. Yeah. There's also, it feels like a scene is missing where Peter Pan is like trying to get Tinkerbell and she's like dead. And then they just cut.
Oh, yeah. And then it just cuts to the final scene.
Like, I have memories of there being a scene where everyone has to clap. Like, they ask everyone in the theater to clap for Tinkerbell. Maybe that's just in, like, later versions of the movie.
Maybe.
But they also don't acknowledge that, like, Tinkerbell basically sacrificed herself, and then I guess she was fine? Was there, like, a shot removed? We watched the Disney Plus movie, which had the 12 seconds of the little warning at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that...
Well, it wasn't for that scene. Jeez.
No. It just, that's where we watched it. And that's like, that was a thing. When they announced that they were going to put warnings at the beginning of certain movies like this and Dumbo and other movies with like very clearly outdated racist tropes.
Movies I haven't seen.
Yeah, movies that you probably don't need to see. We probably don't need to go through the whole catalog of that. But there was some dumb controversy. People be like, you can't censor these movies, even though it's the opposite of censoring. It's just like saying, hey, racism is kind of bad.
It's real, dude.
So let's be aware of that while we watch these old movies and like not pretend that they weren't made the way they were, because they were. This is what people thought was fine. We should be aware of that.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they put in the warning for all that. So yeah, it kind of feels like there is like a scene missing because he's looking for her in the rubble of the bomb that exploded on her, like literally in her face. So she must be dead, right?
Yeah.
So he's looking through the rubble and he's like, I just want you to know that I've always loved you. And he's like giving this spiel about, you know, it's something really deep. And then it cuts from that scene like pretty quick to the final scene where it's just a totally different setting and he's like saving the day.
Yeah, and she's just sort of there.
Yeah, and Tinkerbell's there and she's fine.
She's helping out.
Nothing ever happens between them, but that's their way of making up.
Yeah. A lot of like weird, like particular relationships that don't get resolved in this movie too.
It's interesting stuff, man. I mean, that's just how people didn't communicate back then. Married couples, they all
You can't
hated
talk
each other,
about this
dude.
stuff. Just trust that everything will work out if we do it for the kids.
If she's the right woman for you, then she'll read your mind. Anyway, that's how it goes. But anyway, yeah, so they have the final fight, and then the crocodile shows up, of course, because they have a whole fight, and Peter Pan and Captain Hook end up fighting as a treat.
There's this dramatic moment where Captain Hook says, "Don't fly away," and then Peter Pan says, "I won't." And then when he's like, "You should fly. He's trying to trick you into not flying." And Peter Pan's like, "No, I gave my word.
On my honor, I will not fly during this fight, because that wouldn't make it fair."
He's like, "Okay, I guess."
Yeah, it's really weird, spellbounding.
And then he grabs like the pirate flag and throws it over Captain Hook and says, "You gotta say that you're a codfish." Captain Hook's like, "I'm a codfish," and everyone's like, "Oh,
that's so funny. Because
what a joke!
What a silly word, dude. Yeah, codfish.
That's a pretty funny word.
Could never be me, dude.
Yeah, I would never call myself a codfish.
I would literally never say that.
I would kill myself first before saying I was a codfish.
Oh.
Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, and then there's a whole fight, and then Captain Hook's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fall off the plank," and then the crocodile's there waiting for him, of course. But he doesn't catch him. What ends up happening in the end?
He's running away on the water. It's just another scene of like keeps running and keeps landing in the crocodile's mouth, and then he eventually like starts skipping away, and he keeps shouting Smee, and Smee's like, "Oh!" And then they're out of there.
Yeah.
And then Peter Pan takes the captain's hat and says, "I'm the captain now." And everyone's like, "You're the captain now. You're the leader of the Lost Boys. You're everyone's favorite crush. You're now an honorary chieftain of the tribe of people that we deeply disrespect, and now you're the captain, and everybody loves you." And Peter Pan's like, "This is probably good. This is a good thing for me and for everyone that I have this power." And Walt Disney's like, "Yes."
Yes, and it's worth mentioning that Smee like runs away from Captain Hook with
Smee,
a bunch of the crew.
At a certain point, Smee just kind of gives up and packs all his stuff. And
he's just like, "All right, bye." And he doesn't even say anything. He just kind of gets in a boat. He's like out of there.
Yeah, Smee never cared.
It's funny, dude.
Smee's just he's a mercenary. He'll take whatever the best offer is.
So you like Tinkerbell because she didn't talk much and she didn't have
Not specifically that, but
she didn't have that much to say.
I think
that held up her character.
She was characterized in a kind of interesting way where she was like this supportive character who really was not okay with anything going on. Yeah. And just kept kind of like trying to sabotage everyone. I thought that was fun. Yeah. And I feel like if the movie was made differently, it could have been an interesting character.
Yeah, I like the Lost Boys because, you can't understand what they're saying, so you don't have to pay attention to it. And every once in a while, they do a little, like, a fall or something that's silly.
Yeah, there's like one shot where they're all fighting, and then they all stand to attention. One of them drops the other on his head, and you actually laughed, and you were like, "That's the first time I laughed at this movie."
Yeah, probably the only time. I'm not gonna joke around with you, dude. Yeah. Because I didn't find a lot of it to be, like, too funny because I was so confused. But that one, it was a silly little gag. Yeah. And time kind of stopped for a second. Yeah. Just in that one moment.
It was a brief moment of silence, a little contrast.
It was ecstasy, bro. I'm just kidding.
That was the moment.
I literally...
Everything came together.
Right on the spot. Yeah. Good stuff. So yeah, that good moment. I think that was a minute 22:49. If anyone wants to look it up. I'm just kidding.
A minute 22:49?
Of the movie?
Sure.
Dude, I don't know. I just made that up. But anyway, at the end, they end up going back home in a ship. Oh, this is the best / worst, most confusing part for me. Yeah. So they go back home, and the parents are just getting back home from their whatever gala they were doing. Yeah. And they come upstairs, and Wendy's bed, it's empty. But then they just look to the right, and she's just sleeping there on, like, the couch thing that's in her room.
At the windowsill.
Yeah, and then she looks up, and she's like, "Oh, I was with Peter Pan. Oh." And they're like, "Peter Pan? Oh no." She's like, "Look, he's flying his ship so well." And then you look out the window and there's like a cloud kind of shaped like a ship. Yeah. Like pretty vague.
Like, what if that's not the ship? What if it's just a cloud, but it looks like the ship?
Yeah. They're like, "Oh my god, it's the ship." And then the dad says something really cryptic. Like, "I remember I saw that ship before when I was younger." And everyone's like, "Oh, shucks." And then that's the end of the movie. And I'm like, "What? What do you mean you saw it when you were a little boy, dude?"
So I think the idea is, it's like, have you ever seen The Polar Express?
Yes.
So it's a lot like that, Where it's like, as a kid, you experience the magic of Christmas or the magic of Peter Pan. And so it's this idea that like everyone has this same like experience of childhood, and Peter Pan's like an embodiment of the magic of childhood or something, even though, I don't know.
Yeah, it's such a loose little analogy.
Yeah. But like the idea is like, oh, now the father recognizes the joy of childhood, so it'll be less of a hard ass about everything, because he's like, oh, childhood.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, don't worry, Wendy, you don't have to go to the out of the nursery anymore, because some things take time, and I want you to enjoy your childhood. Yeah. I'm like, dude, she's literally like 12 years old. Like, get off her dick, dude. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. There's a fun review from Charles P. Gives it 2 stars, saying, wasn't Peter Pan intended to be about the purity of childhood? Why then do Peter and Tinkerbell come across as egotistic, icy, and rather obnoxious tyrants? Shouldn't they be tender and lovable?
Yeah, you know what? That's what I've been saying.
It's a fair point, Charles. There's another fun review that's really just Conrad T. trying to spruce up the plot a little bit, give it a little bit of that modern edge. And he says, what would have been interesting is that what if Wendy already had a boyfriend before she met Peter, named Edward? That way Tink never realized that Wendy's already a girlfriend before, and Edward had traveled to Neverland to retrieve Wendy and her brothers, as Edward and Wendy share a most beautiful love scene.
Okay. I guess I could imagine that if it happened, but it didn't.
It's weird that
was
how
many stars?
It's 2 stars.
2.
So I was like, this movie would be 5 stars if my OC Edward, my Peter Pan OC, made his way into the movie and was Wendy's girlfriend,
so
or Wendy's
you just
boyfriend.
Write a little paragraph of Peter Pan lore.
Yeah.
For yourself as a treat.
But it's like, that doesn't sound interesting at all. I'm sorry, Conrad, but I don't know if this is really what the movie needs. It doesn't need another love interest character thrown into the mix.
That's not what's missing, man. There's other more important things going on.
Yeah. There's another review from Aiden Z who says 1/2 star. Am I the only one who hates this movie?
No, I don't think so.
You're not the only one, Aiden. Ann B gives it a 1/2 star. Horrible! I don't like it. So Wendy has to be the mother of the Lost Boys? Come on! In other versions, she can be a pirate in the crew of Captain Hook. I prefer the versions in which she's a pirate. Don't you do a film in which Wendy is a pirate in Captain Hook's crew? Come on, Disney. This film of 1953 is horrible. You can do it better than this. I prefer the version of Jacob Isaac. I love Captain Hook. Thanks for Stay Him Alive. Captain Hook is the only good thing in the film. So there's another sort of like retelling the story. I don't know, is there another version? Is that the one you were mentioning before where Wendy turns out to be a pirate at the end?
Gosh, I gotta be honest, I'm not gonna joke around with you, Sam. I fell asleep.
Fair enough.
During the film. I saw the Nirvana scene, and that's as far as I got.
That's all you really need to see.
Well, I saw a little bit more, but I was just like, gosh, this is so boring.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But it's not animated, it's a live
action one.
And it's...
Yeah, I don't know what Wendy turns out to be a pirate, I don't know what that's from, but Ann B certainly would prefer that.
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't think Wendy's in that movie.
It's part of the lore, dude.
I guess so. It turns out if you just look just off screen, Peter Pan and all his merry characters are just hanging out. I'm like, we're all gonna go with Jack Sparrow too.
It is weird though that Wendy, of course, I mean, back in the day, everyone was sexist as fuck, so they were like, she's the woman character, so she's gonna be the mom to show them how important a mother can be by being the mother character.
A boy needs a mother, and a woman needs to be serving a boy.
That is facts. Yeah. Spitting facts every day here on the channel, on the podcast.
That's the facts of the matters. Got a 5-star review from Scott C saying, "It's Peter Pan, for God's sake."
Well, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean...
Point made.
He must have been reading all the other bad reviews. He's like, come on, ever guys.
Yeah. We got a 1.5-star review from Nikki Alice saying, Peter Pan is a fun kids movie. And that's it. 1.5 stars. So I guess,
These people really go into detail. I mean, I imagine if you're going to go through all the bother to submit a review of a film, you at least go into a little detail, dude. I have respect. I put credit on their name if they write like a long review, very passionate.
A long, crazy.
Because I get it, man.
Review.
Why would you? If you had something to say, then just say it, man. Yeah. But why are you gonna give it 1 star? Although it deserves 1 star, and probably less. But just say it's a good kids movie. It's not enough. Give me more.
Give me more to chew on. Dill P gives it a star, saying, "I found staring at a wall to be more exciting."
Dude, I don't know if I'd say any of that.
Rusa K gives it a 0.5 star. A great example of how Disney ruins otherwise good stories. I am so sorry, J.M. Barrie.
Okay, was the story that good? I've heard rumor on the street has it that it has a really dark ending.
Doesn't J.M. Barrie wasn't there some weird controversy about him being like too close to Peter Pan sneaking into people's windows? Is that based on a real thing that he did?
I don't know, dude.
I feel like I heard that on some listicle website
at some
point.
That sounds like something that would happen.
It probably happened. I think for anyone listening to this podcast, you can take it as gospel that happened.
Well, I mean, look it up. Do your own research, as some folks like to say.
I'd rather not say that.
Independent, unbiased research.
I would prefer people stay ignorant and afraid.
So yeah, look it up. Sounds real. He was a white guy back in the day. They had a lot
Those
of
are the only qualifiers you gotta have. White guy back in the day, we know what he was up to.
I mean, God, any amount of power, you just get sick off of it.
Yeah.
That's just fact, man.
It's another 2-star. This is a longer review from Cheryl. It's the last review I got.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
Cheryl T says, 2 stars. Not a great movie. My kids did not like how jealous/rude Tinkerbell was to Wendy. At one point, she even tried to kill her. Hook at one point heard someone singing an annoying song and pulled out a gun and shot him. I forgot about that scene, bro.
It's a lot of wanton murder.
A couple times slitting someone's throat was mentioned. Not good stuff in a kid's cartoon. Not interested to watch it again. It would be nice to be remade, more appropriate, as it's nice to know story as background for watching Hook. You don't want to watch Hook. Wait, that's not what I'm talking about.
You don't want to watch the Nirvana song.
You don't want to watch Pan. You don't want to see the film Pan. Just to say that again for the crowd. It's not a movie you want to be watching.
No, you don't want to put time into that.
Yeah, and I've never seen Hook or know what it's about.
You've never seen Pan. You only saw the Nirvana scene.
God, I tried to stay awake. I struggled.
Yeah, I did my best.
I didn't know the background lore, dude. The only background I had was that little Disney kids book that's like 10 pages long. It's all like, there was Wendy and Peter Pan, and she stole his shadow. And I was like, what? Doesn't talk about the parents at all, because...
Yeah, that's just fluff.
Dude, the plot is just, like, non-existent, so...
The plot of this 10-page children's book that was in a summary of a movie that I didn't watch.
Yeah, it's funny, because it literally is a summary of the movie, and it's not, like, anything to do with the actual story.
Well, they did a lot of those. Like, I think it just became, like, a standard for Disney. It's just, like, another thing they can sell. It's like, oh, well, you love the movie. Here, you can read the book whenever you want. Look at the pretty pictures. And then you remember the story. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. I used to read the Cinderella one a lot.
Yeah.
Just in bookstores and stuff. Cinderella, like... That's the only reason I knew any of those stories. Because I read, like, little shitty kids' books.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Like, we would just be out, and I'd be, like... sneak a quick look at one of the books on the bookshelf at Barnes and Nobles or something.
Yeah.
And be like, ooh.
Oh, scandalous.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Nice.
So that's how I knew. That's all the lore I had. So
yeah.
Pan did not excite me. Why do they keep doing that? Making movies that are just one word? Or they used to do it a lot more.
I think they just want to have a monopoly on the word.
Maybe.
Like, I think they just... I feel like there's some marketing to, like, plan to that, where it's just like, oh, if this word that's like a common word is our movie, and our movie hits it big, then everything to do with that word is ours.
Yeah, but I mean, just think about how it's evolved now. Now it's like a 2-word phrase, like get out or don't breathe, or some sort of like either command or
things
just
you can say.
A phrase, you know. I know I just named 2 horror movies, but that's like the first 2 that popped into my head. Yeah. And I haven't seen either of them. So
boy howdy, they
there's
got
that.
good names.
But you know what I mean. It's
I think it's interesting how like the industry kind of makes up their rules of like, how are we going to name all this stuff?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it just gets confusing because like, wait, which one of these has Robin Williams? I don't know. They all sound the same.
Like, you got a movie with the name Pan's Labyrinth. You know what movie that is.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's an easy name. You gotta name your movie something memorable.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking one word like Pan.
What if you called it Pan's Big Maze that he goes through? What if that was the name of the movie?
Maze Runner?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's my favorite film.
Yeah, that's my favorite young adult adaptation of the mid-2010s, I guess.
Yeah. That's my favorite adaptation of Divergent.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's perfect.
Anyway.
I'm so off topic.
Whatever. So, Peter Pan, I don't think either of us would recommend this movie.
Yeah. Out of 10, Sam, what do you give the film?
1 or 2.
Yeah, I'd say I'd go for a 2, like, only because of, like, the drawings.
Yeah. It's like there's better cartoon comedy from that time that's less rooted in weird like hang-ups of the culture of that time. And there's much better like classic Disney movies than this, I think. And, you know,
not that I've seen any of them.
Yeah, we should see some other ones that aren't like this, but maybe in a while.
Yeah,
we need to go watch another.
We don't have to go back to the 50s.
Not every week.
I prefer to get more modern with the stuff we watch.
Sure. Speaking of which, we should figure out what we want to watch next time. You got your list?
Let's take a look at the list that we got.
What's it going to be this time?
What'll it be? We're all familiar.
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe... I really like The Emperor's New Groove.
Let's watch Emperor's New Groove.
It's such a great movie.
That's going to be so nice by comparison to this.
We love it. We literally love it so much.
That's going to be crazy, chaotic comedy that's fun to watch.
Yeah, actually good comedy because it's just like a made-up story, not rooted in any weird bullshit.
None of this J.M. Barrie bullshit.
Or maybe it is, dude. We don't know. Maybe we'll have to analyze it next time.
We'll have to find out some fun facts and reviews and talk about the podcast. Talk about the book. The movie.
So come back next year for your full analysis on The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, it's coming. It's always coming.
Coming at 8/9 Central.
HMF XO.
Anyway.
So, yeah.
Bye. So that's that.